All right, Manisha, thanks a lot for getting us that complete recap on the metal space. But let's also talk about the retail space now. The Retailers Association of India says that India saw sales across sectors grow nearly 20% more than what we saw pre-pandemic. This is for the April to November period. This was led by segments like quick service restaurants, sports, apparel, as well as footwear. So to discuss this in more detail and what trends are looking like now, we have Kumar Rajagopalan, Chief Executive Officer at the Retailers Association of India, joining us now. Mr. Rajagopalan, good morning. Thank you very much for joining us. This is Pavitra. My first question is, yes, from April to November, I understand that we've seen quite an increase, but we also had the festive period at that time. So I'm guessing spending was, much higher at that time. There are a lot of reports that we're getting now that discretionary demand is actually slowing down and that there is some kind of stopping on discretionary consumption. Is that something that you're picking up as well for the December month at least?
Hi, good morning, Pavitra. I think if you really look at what's happened from April up to November, we can look at it from two parts of the period. One was from April up to the Diwali season, which was pre-October. And there were some trends that were seen wherein there were definitely QSR has been doing quite well. Some amount of work was happening around, or some amount of sales was happening around garments, etc. But really, the pickup, like you said, during festival was for definitely garments, for footwear, jewelry, etc. picked up during the festive season. The idea was that the pickup would be much better. However, many retailers found that there is a little bit of headwinds thanks to inflation, and that created issue for at least the lower segment of the population, with lower income segment of the population, where, like you said, discretionary expenditure was not much from their side, but the slightly better middle class and the richer population was definitely spending, and they are still spending on various things. That's what is supported. So that's the two parts that we've seen very clearly. So some of the brands have done very well if they are not necessarily taking care of the lower segment or the lower income categories. The things that really kept well is the sports goods and sports varieties. The QSR has also done well, like you said, about 30%. The garments, etc., has done about 20%. Footwear has picked up quite well in the last 4 months' time. Otherwise, it was a laggard in the first 3 months. The expectation going forward is that this kind of a trend may continue, although the sheer inflation is come to a particular level of standstill. I hope this remains here. It doesn't really go up from here, in which case the slightly lower middle class population would also join in the expenditure in spending in the country, especially for discretionary products. The other part is about spending on occasions, and that's really seen a good boost, and that's what we are all banking on currently.
Okay. Mr. Rajagopalan, good morning. So can you tell us a little more, give us a little more color on the rural versus urban spending? Also within not just rural, but even tier 3, tier 4 cities, have you seen a pickup? Because we understand that it's sort of a K-shaped recovery where the premium end of the market is doing really well, but rural is still struggling quite a bit.
Yeah, the K-shape is actually kind of K-shapes. I don't know whether we can call it fully K-shaped, because the lower part has come to a particular level and it's constant there. It's not falling, but it's constant. But the higher part of K is definitely there. But that's between rural as well as urban, because it's basically on the income criterion. The other part is about the tier 3, tier 4 cities. Again, we've seen that when it comes to good brands which are taking care of, or brands that's taking care of the upper middle class population, that's done well. And in fact, the tier 2, tier 3 is seen a better recovery there. But the lower segment of the population are not really spending so much. So that worry is there. The rains and all the indications currently has been all good for the rural population. We would expect that first the food and grocery segment would see the biggest amount of let's say expenditure by those consumers there, and then the rest of the discretionary would come in. So we'll have to wait and watch. We hope that the others will join in on this.
You've given us a number that pan-India retail sales for a period between April to November is 19% higher than the pre-pandemic level. Could you break
Correct.
that further into rural versus metro? What was the growth in these individual segments, or tier 1, however you've classified it, to give us some more nuance?
Yeah, actually, the tier 3, tier 4, we've got data from tier 3, tier 4 at the most, because that's what we really track, because it's from the modern retail all across, right?
Sure.
The data from them has been that they've actually, especially the brands that have done, that are at the upper end of the segment, where they sell to the slightly better off consumers, has been very, very encouraging. So there they've seen hardly any difference at all. In fact, in some of the tier 3, tier 4 cities, the slightly better, the higher end brands have done very well. But the others have not done so well. But that's been the case even in the cities. But in city, because of the sheer number of population and the number of customers who come in and buy, it looks different. So we don't have any more granularity there, because from whatever we can hear from all the consumers or all the retailers, currently they are not seeing a huge difference between tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 expenditure from those segment of populations.
All right, Mr. Rajagopalan, we leave it at that today. Thank you very much for joining us and taking us through, what retail demand is really looking like and what it could shape up as we get into the new year as well. So that is the management, that is the Retailers Association of India telling us that, we are seeing quite a split once again. What is going on in urban India is that we have seen a big growth, but in maybe the tier 2, tier 3 cities, it is not as sharp as that. It's not falling, but it is quite stagnant. So it will be interesting to see how this pans out with the current inflation setup also that we are facing. So with that, we're going to get into a short break now. But on the other side, we have a trading market, the last one for this year. So we're going to tell you how to trade that with Mitesh Thakkar.